Hey everybody, Tyson Zahner here, and in this video I want to talk about credibility and how you can implement or inject credibility into your ads and your messaging and your marketing and your offers, even when you don't yet have a whole lot of personal results yourself. There's actually a lot of ways to do it, and I see this question here a lot that one of my students in our Inner Circle group asked. She said, well, Tyson, you've got the results. You've had results that you can leverage for credibility, but what can I say in my marketing and in my ads when I don't yet have any results or any social proof? So there's good news, guys. First of all, she is 100% correct. As Edward R. Murrow, the famed broadcast journalist, said, to be persuasive, we have to be believable. To be believable, we must be credible, right? And that is 100% true. But look at the bottom line. To be credible, we must be truthful, right? So there are a lot of other ways outside of just telling someone the results that you've gotten that to prove that you have credibility. And let me just before I tell you what, really in my opinion, there's at least 11 ways, 10 of them that do not require you to have personal results. And I'm going to tell you what all 10 of those are in just a moment. But first, let me just give you kind of an example here, okay? If I said to you, hey, did you know that I can go hold my breath underwater for a full 2 minutes? You would probably be a little skeptical. Yeah, right, Tyson. Baloney, right? You're going to be skeptical the same way that your prospects are probably skeptical of you when you go to them with your claims and all the things that you tell them that you're able to accomplish for them. Now, if I wanted to get you to believe me, right? What are my options? Well, first of all, I can just tell you how great I am, which I just did, and maybe you'll believe me, maybe you won't. Option number 2 is I could tell you about my great accomplishments. Well, my second option is I could bring in an outside third party who says, no, I've seen him do it. Yeah, he can really do it. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. These two could be in cahoots, right? So testimonials on your website are not always the most powerful. Yes, you should use them if you have them and they can help, but I think there are much more powerful ways, because what would be the most powerful, convincing way for me to establish proof and credibility that I could really hold my breath underwater? It would be demonstration, right? It would be for me to just demonstrate what I said I could do. And so one of the most powerful ways for you to establish credibility in your marketing is demonstration. Demonstrate that you can help a person by actually helping them. Give them something helpful that they could go implement to get results for themselves. Because if you can help someone else get a result, you don't ever have to talk about your result. If you can give them something where they could go, wow, that really helped me. I was easily able, like he told me 3 little things I could do, exercises I could do that would make my back feel better. And within 24 hours, my back is better. They don't care what other results you've had, your accolades. They don't care what kind of degrees you have. You just demonstrated how great you were, right? And I'll give you one last real world example of this. And then I'm going to show you the 11 ways, 10 of them which don't require any personal results on your own. I'll tell you those 11 in just a moment. But when I first started my photography business, one of the things that I did, my goal, there were a lot of other photographers who were just way better photographers in town than I was, right? And so I offered to people, I was way upfront and totally honest with it. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and get into this because some of these even relate into my example of how I established credibility and started getting my first customers in my photography business when I was brand new, but there were a lot of other people in town who were way more experienced than I was, but I was still able to get started and eventually became one of the top earning studios in town. And I've really done this in all of my businesses where I got started and didn't know anything. So the first thing that you can do, remember Edward R. Murrow said, to be credible, we must be truthful. Well, sometimes it can make a lot of sense for you to simply make a damaging admission, but then turn around and tell them why they should listen to you by showing them affinity. And I'll explain what I mean. So like a damaging admission that I might use, that I actually did use back when I was first starting my photography business was, hey, listen, I'm not as experienced as a lot of the other photographers. I'm not as good as some of the others, but I'm eager. And so then I would give them a reason why they should come to me. Here's why you should choose me instead. instead. And I gave him a compelling reason. And so like with my photography business, we started by simply getting people to try us out. And we said, here's why you should come to us, because we're actually going to offer you your session fee totally for free, because we just need the practice. So if you want to get some family pictures done and you'd like to come to a photographer who's really eager and willing to help you since he's just starting out, then you should come check us out. And we'll shoot your session for free, and you don't pay anything unless you love your pictures. And then almost everybody ended up buying because we did do a good job for them, but we got them in the door with a promise of, just a small, simple step. So that's one thing that you can do is think, what's a small, simple step that I could take to just get someone to get in the door so that I can prove to them how good I actually am or how good my product actually is at what I'm offering. Now, the other thing you could do, you could turn your damaging admission around and do number 2 to add credibility, which is affinity. And this is to say, the reason why you should listen to me is because I have been where you are, right? A lot of times, and I'll give you another great example of this. Whenever I was first starting my weight loss journey, I was a solid 100 pounds overweight. And a lot of times it was really hard for me to relate to the fitness guru with six-pack abs who had been fit his entire life, because to me, I thought this guy, okay, great that you've got results, okay? To me, actually, that was an instance where his results actually hurt him from me, convincing me to follow, buy his program or follow his methodology, because I was like, dude, you've been fit your entire life. You don't know what it's like to be me. You don't know what it's like to be 100 pounds overweight, to have yo-yo dieted your entire life. You don't know what that's like, man. Come on. So to me, something more powerful was when I would see testimonials of people just like me who were not yet totally in shape, but they were on the way. They were 3 steps ahead of where I was. And so if they could show me a testimonial of some guy who started the program and said, I'm a dad, I've got kids at home, I don't have all the time in the world to work out. I was going, oh God, that's me. He's sharing his affinity. So I'm going, wow, that's just like me. I can relate to his story. And then, like a story like, I'm not 100% there yet, but I've already lost 30 pounds. I'm well on my way. I already feel better. And yeah, I've still got a dad bod, but man, I still feel, I feel so much better about where I'm going, and I know I'm going to get there. Now that, to me, that story would have related way more to me for 2 reasons. Because his affinity with where I currently was allowed a ton of credibility. And number 2, because his results were more within reach for where I was at. So don't think, guys, I'm telling you, sometimes the gurus, let's say you're in a money-making opportunity, sometimes the gurus who say, well, I've made millions and millions of dollars, that actually can hurt them because that big claim seems so unreal and so unreasonable. So if you came out, let's just say if you combined just number 1 and 2 together, and I know I'm spending a lot of time on 1 and 2, it's because when you put 1 and 2 together, this is kind of a 1-2 punch of credibility, right? So if you came out and you said, hey, listen, I'm not a top earner in my company. I'm not a multiple millionaire. So you might be wondering why in the world you should listen to me in the first place. Damaging admission, truthfulness. Already you're standing out from everybody else. And then when you turn around and you say, well, you might want to listen to me because I've been where you're at. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm struggling. And no, I haven't made it yet, but I'll tell you what, I'm getting closer. And here's what my life was like just 2 months ago, but here's what it's like today. And you simply talk about the small little bit of results that you've gotten, and when you combine those 2 together, it can help. No, are you gonna attract the guru who's already making millions of dollars with that story? No, you'll attract somebody who's underneath you, but that will help you to get to the next story, which will give you your next result that you can share to get to the next level and the next level and the next level. I call it the snowball effect of results, right? You use one result to attract somebody who hasn't gotten that result yet, and then you go to the next level with the next result, even if it's a small one. And then when you share that result, it'll get you to the next one, next one, next one. Another way to add credibility is to admit your own skepticism, okay? So just recognize people are skeptical. So instead of trying to avoid their skepticism and trying to either pretend like it doesn't exist, you confront it head on and you say something like, listen, if this sounds like a stretch, I got to tell you, I used to think so too. I used to think this was all a bunch of malarkey. And I thought, no, this would never work for me because of X, Y, and Z. And now you're talking their language because, again, there's more affinity and truthfulness in you telling them what you thought in terms of your own skepticism. The fourth way for you to establish credibility is to show that you've actually considered other perspectives. If all you do is you go to people and you say, nope, my diet is the best one for everyone, and if you try anything else, if you're doing diet programs, then it's totally nonsense, right? Or if you're like, well, there's a lot, if you're not looking at, let's say you're a network marketer, if you're not looking at network marketing to make money, that's really the only way to make money online. And if you're not doing it well, then you're just stupid, right? Well, everybody knows that's not true. There's a lot of different ways for a lot of different people to make money, to lose weight, to travel. Not every, timeshare options are not right for everybody. And so if you let them know that you've considered other alternatives and you say, listen, I know that my way of making additional income may not be for everybody, and that's totally okay, but I've explored these possibilities, and here's why I chose this particular option. If you think that's a fit for you as well, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to share it with you. So when you share other alternatives, a lot of people think, well, if I tell them about, like if I said, here's 3 ways you could make money online, what if they choose one of the others? Well, good. They chose the one that was right for them. They weren't going to stick around with yours anyway if it wasn't a good fit for them. But when you share what the other alternatives are, you let them know that you're being truthful, that you're being honest with them, and they're much more likely to resonate with you and say, yeah, I think I'll maybe take a look at what this person has to offer. So another way that I establish credibility is by saying, here's who this is not for. So this is similar to the one above this when I said, okay, if you've got a money-making opportunity and you said, everybody should do network marketing because if you're not doing network marketing, then you're an idiot. Or everybody should own a franchise because, well, duh, we know that's not true. So when you say, listen, I got to tell you before you go any further, here's who this is not for, right? Or you could say, but first let me give you a warning about this. And what you do, the way that you do this without necessarily pushing everybody away is you put people into a category that they wouldn't want to belong to. Okay, for example, on one of my webinars, one of the things that I do right after I introduce my course, I say, listen, before I tell you what's included in this course, let me just tell you who this product is not for, because it is not for everybody. And I go into things like, listen, if you're lazy, if you're not willing to actually put in a little bit of work in your business, then don't buy the program. It won't work for you. If you are looking for just a push button system or some sort of magic ninja trick that'll spam your link into a bunch of Facebook groups and sign people up into your business tomorrow, then I can't help you, and that's not what this course is about. And then I go on and say, but if you're looking for this, and then I put them into a category they would be proud to belong to, right? But if you're serious about your business, if you're not somebody who's treating your business like a hobby and you want to really get to the next level, then this is absolutely for you, and here's why. So by alienating the people I would never want as customers, I'm making the people who would want my product, who are the perfect fit anyway, I'm making them ultra magnetized, ultra magnetic to me and my offer. And I'm making myself that much more trustworthy and credible because when they go, okay, wow, this guy's not trying to sell to everybody. He's being totally honest. He's making a damaging admission about who his product won't work for. Wow, clearly this guy has a lot of credibility and they're going to trust me a lot more. The sixth way to add credibility is with the us versus them angle. So this goes back a little bit to affinity. When people feel like they're a part of a kind of an in crowd, an in group, what will happen is they now feel a level of connection with everybody else that's in that in group. And like, here's just kind of a simple example of this. Like, if you went out of your state, let's say you lived, like I live in Missouri, and if I fly to Las Vegas, right, and I'm in Nevada and I'm hanging out and I'm at the pool, and all of a sudden I see somebody else, we get to talking and I find out they're from Missouri as well. automatically there's a bit of a connection. I don't know why that is. I mean, just because he's from Missouri doesn't mean that he's not a serial, killer or, murderer or something terrible. I mean, but just our human psyche, when we feel like we're just like someone else, when we feel like we're kind of part of an in crowd, oh, hey, you're from Missouri too? Cool, it just kind of makes a bit of an instant connection. So if you can find who are the people who are not like us, who are kind of in other words, the enemy of your market. And it doesn't always have to be a person who's the enemy, right? It could be a thing like, listen, if you have tried these types of diets before, I'm going back to health and wellness again, but, if you've tried, this, or let's say you're selling a travel club, right? And I don't know, maybe your market hates people, timeshare presentations who try to sell them in timeshares. And you're like, oh my gosh, those people who own timeshares, they think they're so much better. Or what? I'm not saying that's for real. I'm trying to give you some examples. Like a real world example of this might be like, a lot of times people feel like the big gurus are just, selling them are just telling them what they want to hear to sell them something, or just as marketers, the quote unquote experts. And so if you mock the experts and you'd be like, well, listen, all the marketers out there tell you this kind of diet works great because of course they want to sell it to you. But if you're like me and you've tried this, you're probably sick of hearing all of those big claims. Or maybe, let's say you were in network marketing, right? I've actually done this where I've said, hey, listen, a lot of upline trainers are going to tell you that if you try to build a network marketing business online, it's just not duplicatable. And that's why they'll claim that you should avoid personal branding and attraction marketing like the plague. But if you look closely, you'll actually discover they're secretly doing all the things they're telling you not to do. Well, now I've just put them in with me in the in crowd. Oh, yeah, he's been lied to as well. His upline didn't tell him how they were really building their business. They kept the secrets from him. And so those are just a few ways that if you can make someone feel like maybe they've been left out of the in group and you're letting them in on a secret, they will feel kind of a connection to you because you're letting them in the inner circle. But number 7 is by far and away my favorite way to establish credibility. It is to simply demonstrate your knowledge. This is how I got started when I first got started online and I had no results. I used, many of you have heard me teach this before, I call it the study, share, suggest methodology. S3 is what I call it. I would simply study something that my market would get value from. In my case, because I was selling information products, it was easy. I was in an affiliate program where I was selling information products. So I would go study a portion of the information product that I wanted to sell. Then I would share something that I learned. I didn't give away everything for free. I didn't plagiarize. I summarized it in my own words, and I said, hey, listen, if you want to know how to solve X, Y, and Z, I was going through a program recently called, and by the way, if you're selling let's say you're an affiliate for an information product or something that you want to sell, it actually helps you to mention the product early because you're planting a seed for later on when you can say, hey, if you got value out of this and you want to grab the whole program, you could click this link and then you could give them like an affiliate link or whatever if that's something that you're doing. Now, that's just an example for affiliates, but that's what I would do. I would just give a quick little tip. I'd say, I was going through this program called yada, yada, yada. Let me just tell you one little thing that gave me a big aha moment. I started implementing this. It's made a big difference in my business. I think it'll help you too. So I shared something that I learned and I said, hey, by the way, if you want to, take the next step, whatever that is. I would say if you want to go grab this program for yourself, let's say it was a small, like a $27 ebook. I might be able to go directly from a short 5-minute video or a short blog post where I give them value, say, hey, if you want to grab this $27 ebook, it's really cheap. You can go grab it right here. But if not, I could say, listen, this is just one of 5 great tips that I got. If you want to download all 5 of those, I'll give them to you for free if you go and then message me in Messenger or send me an email. Take them to the next step to just become a lead if the product is a little more expensive and requires a bit more commitment. One of the things I've done in the past that worked really well for me is what I call the smorgasbord strategy with demonstrating my knowledge. This is kind of a combination of showing that you've considered other options, but doing it in I say the smorgasbord strategy. In other words, people do not want to feel like they're being told what is best for them. In other words, if I tell you to make a decision, you are going to feel like you were pushed into it, and you will forever and the rest of your life, you will second guess whether you made the right decision. But if you feel like you made the decision on your own, you will, not only will you be proud of it, you will defend it. Anybody that comes to you and says, oh, that thing doesn't work, no, those diets don't work, those things are scams, they never make any money, you will defend it because you made the decision yourself. Well, your prospects are the same way. So instead of saying, here's the only option for losing weight, I give them a smorgasbord. Well, listen, there's about as many ways to lose weight as there are mouths to feed, and here are 3 diets that work really, really well. I mean, there's the ketogenic diet, which does this. There's, paleo, which does this. There's the Mediterranean diet. Let's talk real quick about the pros and the cons of each one, and then I'll help you to kind of figure out which one is best for you. Now, if you were selling only one diet, the way that you would then lead them into taking the next step with you would be to say something like, listen, I don't know which diet is right for you, but I'll tell you which one I chose and why. Now, here's why that works. The reason why that works is because you've just demonstrated your knowledge, and you've positioned yourself as an expert and as an authority on diets by showing them the way certain diets work and why certain other diets don't work, if that's your thing. They now trust you to say, okay, wow, this person seems to know what he's talking about. I wonder what diet he picked, right? You see, that's what's going on in their mind. And when you finally get to the end of whatever the next step is, you say, well, listen, I don't know if this is right for you, but I'll tell you the one that I selected. And it was the ketogenic diet. And the reason I chose that for me was this. Now, I don't know if that's going to work for you or not, but if you think your reasons are the same as mine, feel free to click here and go to the next step. And that's so, so powerful. They feel like they made the decision. You gave them an honest, smorgasbord of choices, and they went, there we go. That's the one I want. Another way to establish credibility is to borrow credibility from someone else. So like I've got a student right now who's in legal. She's in like some sort of, like they sell legal services. So maybe you're not a legal expert. Well, could you find someone who is an expert and interview them? Could you find maybe somebody in your company who has a lot more knowledge of what could happen if you don't have the right legal coverage, or what happens, I don't know what kind of legal things you offer, but maybe you do living wills for people or something. Maybe you could talk to somebody who is an estate planning expert, interview them, borrow that credibility, and then you could say, hey, by the way, I've got 3 other things that I learned from this person that I didn't even get to include in the interview. Click here, take the next step, go to my messenger, and I'll send those right over to you. You could also, of course, sometimes if you're just in like if you take pictures at events with leaders, that can help you to borrow a little bit of credibility. Sometimes quoting a celebrity in your market. If you have success in other areas of your life, I actually did that when I first got into online marketing. I said, listen, I'm not a multi-millionaire or whatever in this area, but I have had a multiple 6-figure studio in my photography business. And so I borrowed that credibility from another area of my life to establish some credibility. So those are all some ways that you can, borrow credibility. And one more thing that you could do in terms of interviewing would be, and I guess this is going to kind of fall into number 10, which is testimonials and endorsements. So I'll get to that here in a minute, okay? Number 9, this is one that is so overlooked, but I will tell you, there are so many people out there who are struggling to get people to follow them because they do not exude any confidence whatsoever in what they're offering. And my wife, I'll just tell you, when I first got started, my wife came to me and she said, I'm really just amazed at how you present your confidence in this thing when you're just like, you're pretty new at this, and you just kind of exude this confidence. And that, I got to tell you guys, people want to follow another person who seems like they know where they're going. Okay. Now, please don't use this for evil purposes. Okay. Because there are certainly instances where people have pretended like they knew exactly where they were going, and led them down a wrong path and people went, oh, wow, this guy seems to know what he's doing. I'll follow him. You think about a lot of the cults and stuff. Usually those leaders were very confident, charismatic people. Well, that has a lot with getting people to feel like they want to follow you and have confidence in you and feel like you have some level of credibility. Well, he seems confident about it. I guess he's credible. So again, please do not use this for evil, okay? Use it to do good things for people. I'm just sharing a secret that just works. And really, the main reason I'm sharing number 9 with you is more for the fact that I know a lot of you, the fact that you do not exude enough confidence is hurting you, okay? And then I'll say one last thing about confidence, because I know a lot of people are like, Tyson, well, it's real easy for you to have confidence. You've had a lot of results. Well, confidence, there's a few other ways you can build confidence, whether it's in yourself or in your product or what you're offering. And that is, number 1, obviously start using your product and believe in it. The more you use it and get results, the more confidence is going to build. Work on you. The more I learned and I became knowledgeable, and I started teaching that to other people. Yeah, in the beginning, if you go back and you watch some of my very, very earliest YouTube videos, you will see that I was very awkward in front of the camera. I didn't speak as fluidly as I do now. I didn't speak with as much confidence. And the more I did it, the more confidence I gained. It just comes with time. The more you learn, the more knowledge you acquire, the more confident you're going to feel in that area. Of course, it's also going to help you get results. Those results are going to help you to feel confident. Help other people to get results. That's going to give you confidence. And finally, hang around with other people and look at testimonials of people who are getting results with your thing, okay? Like, when I first started on one particular type of diet, I kept having kind of guesswork. Like, I don't know, is this diet really going to work? So what I would do is I would go out to keep my confidence up so I would stay on track. I would go out to YouTube and I would watch videos of other people who were doing that exact same diet that I was on. And it built my belief more. So hang around other people who are getting results with the thing you want, and that confidence will simply rub off onto you, which you can then basically through even just the way that you carry yourself, you can then impart that confidence to your prospects, which will help them to want to follow you, all right? Finally, the last one, there's 11, but the last one is the one we've already talked about, results. I told you I was going to give you 10 that you didn't have to have results for, and that is testimonials. So find other people, even if you haven't gotten the result yet, find someone who has. Is there somebody who's used your product, somebody who's in your company, even if they're not at the top of the company, but they're a little bit ahead of where you and your potential prospects are, that can make them go, wow, this person's like, the results they've gotten seem attainable for me. I could do that. I could definitely get where they're at. So you don't have to go get the biggest resulting person in your company or the biggest testimonial ever from your product. Sure, if you want to mix those in as well, fine. But find somebody who's gotten some result and just maybe interview them. That would be my favorite way to do it. Would be interview another person and just treat it like a case study. And then you simply share, hey, if you want to know how so-and-so got XYZ result, I've got this free thing that you can get. You're really going to love it. And then you interview them. You as the interviewer, you don't have to have gotten the results. You're asking them how they got the results. But by association, you look credible as well, and then you make the next suggestion on where they should go. Of course, endorsements can help as well. So if there's some, like big name or whatever, that can help to establish credibility. But I think a lot of people have seen that so much in commercialized marketing that it's not quite as powerful for the little guy. But you could certainly use that if you've got it. And then, of course, yeah, if you have results, if you've got great results, if you've won awards, you have accolades, you've been featured on websites, whatever. Yeah, that can add credibility and you should use it. I use it. But guys, I use almost every one of these other ones here, and some of them I use and rely on way more than results and rewards and accolades. So if you have ever wondered or struggled with, Tyson, how do I create credibility when I'm brand new, when nobody knows who I am, this is your blueprint to do it, all right? So take a screenshot of this page, print this out, and implement every single one of these, or not every one every time, but as many of these as often as you can in your ads or in your marketing, in your follow-up messages, in your videos, in your groups, in your offers, in your webinars, whatever it is that you're doing to market your business. I can guarantee that these things will help you to sell more stuff because, as Edward R. Murrow said, you will be establishing credibility. And in order to establish credibility, well, let's look at his quote. We started with it, might as well finish with it. To be persuasive, we must be believable. To be believable, we must be credible. To be credible, we must be truthful. All right, guys, here's to wishing you the best. I will see you guys on the next training. Until then, take care. Bye.